everyone, welcome to your reading. So I'm actually filming your group last, and I typically don't do that. Usually I go in order, but I've been waiting for this to come in the mail, and so this got here right before I was about to start filming your reading, so I didn't have this for the first two groups. And I think it's really cool that this came, and then we also have this amber card with this insect in this sort of like crystallized amber. So for me personally, bees are like a good sign for me. I love bees, have always loved bees. I don't know why. I am terrified of most insects, but I love bees so much. And so every time I see a bee, I just think of it as a sign of good luck. And so I think that's a really nice start to your reading group one, a good omen for the rest of your reading. So, April 2023, what do we have going on here? All right, so we have Amber and we have Reverie to start off. This is actually one of my favorite words too. It's so pretty. I really like the combination here because this card makes me think of a return to like childhood innocence and, you know, dreaming, and think about how much bigger our dreams are when we're kids versus when we're adults, and everything is filtered through this lens of like what we think is actually achievable, what is practical. And you know, it's different when you're a kid. You know, if an adult asks you like, what do you want to be when you grow up? You know, you might say you want to be, I don't know, a professional baseball player. You might want to be a pop star. You might say you want to be a princess, you know, and to you in your head when you're a little kid, you think that's possible, right? And so, you know, it's different, you know, when you get older and, you know, you start to learn a little bit more about how the world actually works. And so I feel like for you, there's a real contrast here, right, between these two cards. Here we have this insect trapped in amber, can't move, looks really miserable, right? And then over here we have freedom, we have euphoria, we have dreams, which is the exact opposite of how restricting this card looks, right? And so I feel like, you know, this is, and even, I mean, you can see the wings here, right? I mean, this used to be as free as this, right? And so there's this energy of you coming into the month of April, unburdening yourself, letting go of these restrictions of the past, letting what has gone be gone. And I feel like opening up your heart space and just giving yourself permission to dream again, giving yourself permission to just feel free. Because I think for a long time, like, this has been your heart, you know, just like this poor insect trapped in this amber, and you remember the taste of freedom, you remember what it felt like. And so I feel like you're sort of reclaiming a sense of independence, reclaiming a sense of freedom, reclaiming the right to dream. So, a very powerful energy to start off your month of April. So let's get into your tarot. You do have a lot of cards. So let's see here. We'll start from the top. We have the Knight of Swords. We have the Ten of Swords, okay. Let's see here, we'll move this out the way for a second. We have the Five of Pentacles. We have the Devil. We have the Page of Swords. The Seven of Swords. Wow. I mean, if you know anything about tarot, these are really, really heavy energies. Okay, we have the Magician. Finally, things are looking up. We have the Magician. We have the Nine of Cups. That's beautiful. The Lovers. Okay. And we have the Page of Cups. Okay. I know you probably can't see all of these cards, but we'll move them around as we get into it. Okay. With the Knight of Swords here, this is a pretty powerful Knight of Swords. And you know, I didn't use this deck for every group, just for you. And I think that, you know, whenever I'm drawn to a particular tarot deck for a certain group, it's because the specific imagery on those cards are going to resonate with you all best. So this Knight of Swords does not look like a typical Knight of Swords. We see the bandaged tail, right? We see the discarded sword. We see the missing eye here. And so this is sort of your energy coming into April like this wounded warrior. And you coming out on the other side of it, because man, with this 10 and 7 of Swords coming out, especially the way the cards laid out with them being right on top of each other, you know, for you, there has been betrayal, there's been hurt, and even like your own, even in sort of like being in opposition with your own shadow self, to be quite frank, because I'm hearing Taylor Swift's song The Archer, where she says, I cut off my nose just to spite my face. And I think it's something about like, now I can't even look in the mirror, or something like that, you know. And so there's something like that where I feel like you were hurt and you were betrayed so much, and there was a point where you started to blame yourself for that. You started to blame yourself, and rather than, I think, directing that anger and that frustration with the people who deserved it, maybe you turned it inward on yourself, and maybe you blamed yourself for not seeing who they were sooner, for trusting them to begin with. And that's always such a shame, right? Because we should be able to trust people. People should be honest, right? You know, it shouldn't be that we're mad at ourselves for trusting. We should be able to trust. And so I think that's a real shame. But I think that, you know, like you've processed that. I mean, this Knight of Swords, like, he's been hurt, he's been wounded, right? But he's still standing, and I think that is what is most important. He is still standing. And so even though you've been through this, you know, you're ready. He looks very fierce, right? And I think with this 5 of Pentacles here and the Devil, this is also alluding to that idea that your own shadow was giving you a bit of trouble as well. And so I think that you've made peace with yourself. You come to this place of like, okay, you know, like I did the best that I could with the knowledge that I had at the time. And I'm hearing I'm no longer, I want to say this carefully, I'm no longer apologizing for what I had to do to survive. You know, there may have been some things that you did to get by, to get through whatever this was with the 10 of Swords, whatever ending. I mean, there are multiple endings, multiple hurts, multiple betrayals. I mean, the 10 of Swords is something that has built up over time. So it's like you were in the 7 of Swords and it just kept going. This isn't something that just happened to you one time. This wasn't something that just happened all at once. This is like chronic stress, chronic betrayal, chronic hurt. And you had to endure all of it, okay? With the 5 of Pentacles and the 7 of Swords combined, who could you trust? Who could you trust? And this message came out, and I think in one of the silent readings, so you could have been from that group, and I wish I could remember which one it was, but it was this idea that because other people betrayed your trust so much, the worst thing they did to you was to cause you to no longer trust yourself, because you felt like your own judgment wasn't right. You felt like you couldn't trust your own discernment anymore. You questioned yourself because you were upset that you ever trusted them to begin with. You're like, what was wrong with my intuition? Why didn't I see it? Why didn't I see them for who they were? And you know, hindsight is 20/20. It's so easy to look back on the past and pick out the red flags. But when you're in the moment, and you're just getting to know someone or welcoming them into your life, you know, people present with false facades, right? False masks. Well, not false facades. I guess all facades are false, but anyway, false masks, okay? And so yeah, I think it's really easy to look back on it and to blame yourself. And I think because of all of this, you know, with the Ten of Swords, you may have started to neglect like your own health, you know. You may have just felt so drained, so exhausted that, you know, maybe you did start to engage in some like unhealthy coping mechanisms, you know. With the Devil card, you know, the Devil card gets a bad rep in tarot, but, you know, really it's just pointing to this idea that, you know, you're chained to something, willingly chained to something to get through the day, right? So this is like, you know, the card of addiction, right? The card of unhealthy coping skills, essentially. And so it's meant to be helpful. It's meant to push us to change something. I do feel like you've come out on the other side of that, though. And, you know, with the Five of Pentacles, this talks about a complete lack of support. This is a card about being left out in the cold, because with the Five of Pentacles, there's always help, there's always safety, but you're shut out from it. Those who should be helping you are not helping you. And so that's only fueling this feeling of distrust, this feeling of guardedness, right? And so I feel like all of this is like helping you understand that if this is what you've been going through, the universe recognizes it, the universe sees it, sees what you've been through. And here's I think, you know, the biggest part of all of this is that if we look at the layout of this reading, right, these cards here are all very much troublesome energies, difficult energies. And then if we look at the bottom end of this, we've got the Magician, we've got the Nine of Cups, the Lovers, the Page of Cups, the Page of Swords. All of this is quite positive. Beautiful energy. Gorgeous energy compared to like what's up here. And so I feel like this is almost like mimicking the Wheel of Fortune, you know? And so I feel like there's also an additional metaphor to this, because I feel like for you all, you're thinking, you know, this is life. This is how it's going to be. This is all that I've known up until this point, maybe. Or you've been in this energy for so long, you've forgotten how anything else, you know, feels. And so you think, you know, it's not going to get better, and if anything, it might even get worse. But I feel like the message for April here is that it's actually about to get better. And it's going to get unexpectedly better. Because you think you're on a downswing. You think you're just going to get crushed even more by the wheel. But actually, if we're looking at this like it was the Wheel of Fortune, the bottom here is actually going to get better. This is when your life gets better. And so I feel like Spirit wants to emphasize to you, even though you feel so unlucky, and remember the bees, I said this is a personal omen for me of good luck. I feel like that was significant. Luck is on your side in April. The universe is favoring you in April. It's your time. It's your time. So a wish is coming true. The Magician, the Nine of Cups, some sort of wish is coming true for you in the month of April. For some of you, it could be love. It could be soul family connection. It could be better people you can actually trust, because Lord knows you haven't had that. But a wish is coming true, something you've manifested, whether consciously or subconsciously, something you prayed for, something that you wished for, something that you hoped for is coming to pass. But the Page of Cups is something that's very close to your heart. But I also feel like you're reconnecting with the wisdom of your heart. You're trusting your heart again. And with the Page of Swords, you see so clearly now what you could not see before. And it's funny, this cat has lost an eye, right? But it's seeing more clearly than it ever has before. And they're telling me your scars have taught you the lessons. The writing is on the wall. Your scars have taught you your lessons. You've learned what you needed to learn. You've been through the karmic connections. You have up-leveled, you have ascended, you have gotten it. So we don't need to hammer it into you anymore. You've learned what the darkness is. You've learned what lurks in the shadows, and now it's time to step into the light again. I mean, even the lovers here, the two cats, their tails are making a heart from the sun. And remember how we said it's almost like this return to childhood, this return to openly trusting again. How long ago has it been? How long has it been since you trusted? Because when you lose the ability to trust yourself, you lose the ability to trust in the divine, because they are both connected. And this message has come up in various forms in all three readings today. And I try to keep things pretty grounded in these readings, but I feel like for April, it must be a very like spiritually heavy month for everyone, because, or everyone in, at least in the collective here in our community, because all of them have talked about, every single reading I mean today, has talked about restoration, you know, of this connection to the divine. And they're showing me like mending stitches here. Mending stitches. And there's something there too about like weaving the fabric of this new story. And this new story being one of your own making here. And you know, it would have been so easy too for you to fall into like this victim mentality. But you're choosing something better. The Lovers talks about a choice as well. You know, there's that resiliency, because it would be so easy for you to fall into the Devil card energy and stay there. It would be so easy for you to give in to that and to be ruled by your vices, to be ruled by what temporarily takes the pain away. It would be so easy, right? And we all have them. We all have maladaptive coping skills, okay? We all have something, you know, whether it's, you know, shopping too much, eating too much, using a certain substance too much, you know, anything in excess. Even if it's something that, even exercise, you know, you can exercise to the point to where it's detrimental to your health, right? So anything in excess that you could be doing to take away the pain, to numb the pain, to escape the pain, the hurt, the anger, the fear, it would be so easy to stay there, to stay in that. And so I feel like, if anything, you need to give yourself a pat on the back here. I don't know if you guys remember, like they used to make us do that in kindergarten, and I hated it so much when they would make us like pat ourselves on the back. I don't know if any of you had to do that when you were in school, but okay, I'm getting off topic. Really though, I mean, give yourself some credit here, because not, let me put it this way, to go through the energies that you have gone through, it's not for the faint of heart. So give yourself some credit. I think Gracie might want to give me a second. Okay, these two cards are going to depict your energy throughout the month of April. All right, we have She Who Loved Once, blue, fragile, secret love, rejection. And we have She Who Enfolds, embrace, and self-care. This makes me think of this one, of this card right here. It's like you could be wrapped in the shadows of the past. You could be cocooning yourself, hiding yourself away in the shadows of the past, reliving the past, forcing yourself through it over and over again, wondering why they did what they did, getting stuck in the anger, holding a grudge. You could get lost in that. You know, you could become the very person who hurt you. You could do that. You could sink into that energy, but you're not. And you know, I think you're looking at it now like, I was brave enough to love. I was brave enough to trust. I was brave enough to have an open heart. And if someone chose to take advantage of that, if someone chose to use what is actually my strength against me, if someone chose to use my own sword against me, that says more about them than it does about me. And I feel like you're now in this place of like, you know what? I have this beautiful opportunity now to recall my love and to turn it inward and to take care of myself. And to embrace myself the way that I embrace these other people who treated me like this, who stabbed me in the back. And so, you know, it's a huge perspective shift. And I think the biggest thing of all is you forgiving yourself and understanding that your past self cannot be faulted here. Faulted for what? For having an open heart? For being maybe naive? Who hasn't been naive in their life? You don't know what you don't know, right? So you're no longer upset with yourself for the loving. And maybe you do feel a little blue, but you see that for what it is too. You see that you're not mourning or upset for what you have lost, because what you lost wasn't something of value anyway, right? It was false. It was a lie. But what you are missing, I think, is the potential. What you thought it was going to be, what you were told it was going to be. That is what you are grieving. And it's hard to grieve something that was never really there. And you might feel silly for it, but don't. It's part of the process. You know, and that's that idea of like, you know, falling in love with the potential of something is a great way to break your own heart. But we all have to learn that lesson. So at least now you've learned it and you're done with it. You can move on, you can move forward. And things are getting better. I know many of you don't believe that, but they are getting better. They will get better. That's the natural order of it. Don't think that's some huge miracle that's going to happen. That's the natural order of it. If things have been down, they have to come up. And when things are great, when things are good, celebrate that. But no, it won't last forever because that's life. There are cycles for all of us. And so if you've been down and out, down and out, down and out, you're due for some good stuff. That's the natural order of it. That's the wheel of fortune. That's the way of the world. Okay, so these cards here are representing major themes for the month of April. We have abundance and we have courage. I do think there might be some Leos in this group, I have to say. I think there might be some Leos in this group. I keep hearing brave heart, brave heart, brave heart. All of this purple too. I'm telling you, that feeling, here, it's so funny. You know, you feel so alone. But I think that if you could touch and see and feel the amount of divine support that you have, I just think you would cry. I really do. Like, I think it would astound you how much divine support that you have and how loved you are by the divine. I'm hearing that you're going to have courage to claim what has always rightfully been yours. I have another oracle deck that says happiness is your birthright. And that's what it is. Like, you deserve to feel abundant. You deserve to feel like you have what you deserve. You deserve to feel this sense of abundance that, you know, goes beyond wealth, goes beyond the material. Yes, it does include that, and that is important, but also connection, also love, acceptance, support, community. You deserve all of that, and it's not asking for too much. I do feel like there are going to be opportunities presented to you in April. There's going to be some big choices that have to be made. And I do feel like part of it too is a little bit of a test, because we're manifesting, right? Whether we realize it or not, we're praying, we're hoping, we're wishing. And these cups start appearing before you, and they're opportunities. Are you going to be brave enough to say yes, or are you going to sit where you're at because the last time you trusted, the last time you opened your heart up, it went so badly? And I think the test here is that Spirit wants to say, trust yourself. Do you feel connected to the divine? Do you feel connected to your intuition? Do you feel connected enough to trust yourself, love yourself, and not question your own judgment because other people made a fool of you in the past? Made you feel that way. So there's going to be some major decisions that have to be made in April. Trust yourself to make the right choices. That's the guidance here. Because this is what is on the other side of that trust. Feeling confident, feeling brave, feeling courageous, that Leo energy, and feeling abundant. Feeling like not only do you have enough, but you have more than enough. And you have enough to share. Whether that's love, energy, resources, everything that encompasses abundance. Time even. Okay, let's take a look at your other themes for the month. We have duality and communication. I just heard that you are coming to this place of understanding that what people say and how they act isn't always in alignment. And I know that may seem obvious, but I think for some of you, because you are the type of person to mean what you say and to do what you say, and your words and your actions are in alignment because you keep your promises and you're a person of your word, I think you can make the mistake of assuming that other people are just as truthful and honest as you. And I think that's what, you know, caused some of that trouble in the past that we were talking about. And even about the small little things, I mean, it'll amaze you how much people just casually lie. You know, like, they do. They just, I mean, it will just floor you how much people just lie, even for the sake of it. And so I feel like you're also coming to this place of almost like you've learned a new language. Like, you're able to absorb what people say on the surface level, but then you're also able to look at it from a broader scope. Like, okay, when they were speaking, what were their facial expressions? What was the body posture? What were the nonverbal body cues, you know? And, you know, it's almost like you're becoming like this human lie detector, you know, and you're able to more easily spot the BS, for a lack of a better expression. And so, yes, I feel like, yeah, your discernment is definitely getting an up-leveling here. And I also feel like you're able to see it from other people's perspective as well. Like, you're able to see things from another person's point of view, and not to say that they were right or anything like that, or that they were justified in how they treated you, but I feel like you're able to make peace with what they did because you're starting to understand that it had very little to do with you and everything to do with their projections, their insecurities, their past, maybe even possibly like some traumatic experiences they have gone through. And again, it doesn't justify it, but I think that explanation sets you free because it takes you out of the equation. It no longer feels like a personal attack and more as if you were just a bystander, or not a bystander, a casualty. You know, you were just sort of, yeah, a casualty of their like careless destructiveness. Because if you don't handle your stuff, and we all have it, right? We all go through difficult experiences in our childhood, things that kind of mess us up a little bit. Everybody has something to a different degree, but everyone has something. We all have our cross to bear, right? And so if you don't handle your stuff, if you don't do your healing, if you don't ever work on yourself, if you don't do any type of anything related to self-development, and you just walk through life carelessly hurting everybody because you yourself are hurt, everybody's been hurt. It doesn't justify it. It doesn't make it okay. It's not okay to lash out because you're suffering. You have to handle your stuff. And so, to those people who hurt you, you know, it's not your fault that they didn't handle their stuff. And I'm saying stuff because I'm trying to keep it vague because I don't want to use specific examples and trigger anybody, but everyone's got to handle their own stuff. It doesn't make it okay. And I'm even kind of seeing that now a little bit in my job, because, you know, like I've worked as a counselor and now I'm working as a social worker, and I think that sometimes people in sort of the career positions that I have worked in have such a high level of burnout, have such a high turnover rate, because everyone knows that the field of social work is a hard one, and everyone knows it's hard for counselors, especially in the field of addiction. There's such a high turnover rate, and part of that, I think, comes from the way that management and administration handles whenever you know, their employees are put in positions where they feel harassed, or they feel unsafe, or they feel like they are being spoken to and treated in a way that no one in a professional setting should have to endure on a regular basis. And so, you know, and they'll say, well, you know, we have to have compassion, we have to have empathy because the client is going through X, Y, and Z. And it's like, yes, that's very true. All of that is true, 100%. However, I have to feel safe in my workplace. I have to feel like I am not being verbally abused in my workplace. I have a right to that. You know, like there's a limit here. There should be a line. There has to be a boundary. Because yes, they're hurting, but you know, I'm in a position of trying to help. And you know, everyone will do what they can to help, of course. But, you know, no one deserves to be screamed at, cursed out, you know, or, you know, physically have someone put their hands on them. No, it doesn't make it okay. Just because you have experienced some form of trauma doesn't make it okay for you to inflict trauma upon other people. And so, you know, I think that that's the position where you're at. You know, it's like you're able to forgive for your own sake. You're able to let it go because you understand it had very little to do with you. It's not personal. It's just that that's how those people treat others in their life all around. And they probably play the victim themselves, you know? And they probably gaslit you a lot. And probably made you feel like you were going crazy. But I feel like you see it clearly. You see it for what it is now. And I think that in and of itself is very freeing. And so I feel like now you're standing your ground and you're saying, you know, certain things might explain their behavior, but it doesn't justify it. It doesn't make it okay. If we say it's okay, if we say that that's, you know, acceptable, then where does the cycle of pain and hurting end? Where does it end? And so, you know, you can't force those people to get help. You can't force them to change. But what you can do is take yourself out of the equation and move on. And maybe that in and of itself will be a lesson to those people or to that person. Because it may just be one person who repeatedly hurt you, and for others of you it could have been multiple people. So just apply it how it resonates, as always. And I know that I'm talking a lot, and I know that I'm channeling a lot here, but that's been for every group. Honestly, I think April's just a heavy month, but it's a month where there's almost like, it feels like to me like this reckoning. Like, it feels like the month for divine interventions is what it feels like. It feels like the universe is saying, listen, karmically things are out of order. It's time to set it right. We've got expectations, don't seek anyone's approval. And we have potion, remember to practice self-love. Okay. I feel like this is where you find your power in the month of April. You find your power in redirecting that energy to yourself, loving yourself the way that others could not love you. The 12 and the 24 here, it's coming to a place of completion, coming to this place of feeling whole within yourself. And I do think for some of you, you could find a lot of power in spell work. You could find a lot of power in making sigils. You could find a lot of power in connecting with Mother Gaia. Any occult-related practices, I think, could also be really beneficial to you. So maybe go buy your first tarot deck if you don't have a tarot deck yet. Maybe start meditating. Maybe, yeah, anything that resonates with you. I'm hearing that it could be something more obscure. Explore a little bit. Explore with your spiritual practices and find something that really speaks to you. Because I feel like there's going to be so much power in you delving into your divine feminine energy in the month of April. I want to do a divine feminine reading, so make sure you're on the lookout for that. I don't know when I'm going to get to it, but I think that could be helpful for you. This is so cute because it's like you're giving yourself a rose, right? Like you're giving yourself the approval here. And I think this goes hand in hand, like some of you may be into things that are outside of, I guess, what society typically talks about. Like maybe you'll be connecting with fairies in the month of April. And that might be a little bit out there, a little bit different for some people. But for you, I think it's going to click. Yeah, don't be afraid to explore a little bit with your spirituality. Don't be afraid to mix it up a little bit. I almost feel like you're going to discover some like talent that you didn't know that you had, or some sort of psychic ability that you didn't know that you had. Maybe you'll start, you know, like mixing up your own, almost like little potions. Or, you know how some people might put together like a little brew as like a house protection sort of thing, and they'll just let it sort of boil or whatever. Simmer, that's the word I'm looking for, simmer. They'll let it simmer on their stove, you know, while they clean their house or something like that. I don't know, there's just something about there being a lot of power for you and new, simple rituals. And I think it's going to be something that's deeply personal to you, because Spirit is saying, we want you to explore. We don't want this to be prescriptive. We don't want you to walk away from this reading thinking, oh, I have to do X, Y, and Z. You know, like they want you to feel, they want you to find something that feels right to you, something that you can just fall into an easy rhythm with, and not something that's going to feel like a chore. Something that feels quite natural to you. Okay, we have optimism here. If you're going to make up stories in your head about people and circumstances, please make them love stories with happy endings. This takes courage. After what you have been through, it takes courage to feel hopeful and optimistic. And, you know, when you feel disconnected from your hope and your optimism and your capacity to feel those things, what is there? What is there to look forward to? Everything is bleak without that. You have to have hope. You have to have hope. I knew someone once, and he was a very deeply troubled person, and he snapped at me one time, like out of nowhere. I didn't know him very well at the time, but he had snapped at me because I had said something, you know, in reference to hope. I had mentioned something about, well, hopefully this happens, or hopefully something I had said. And he was like, hope to me is like a 4-letter word. Never say the word hope to me. Never say the word hope to me. And it was a wound from his childhood that he had never dealt with. And as I got to know him better, it was very clear to me that he was a hurt person who was hurting other people. And it goes back to that idea of like, this is what happens when you don't deal with your stuff. This is what happens when you let those wounds dictate how you live your life and how you show up in your life. And I couldn't imagine going through life without hope, with thinking that was a bad thing. And it's scary to hope. It's scary to have optimism. You know, it's like Kurt Cobain when he said, like, when he's saying, I think it's Francis Farmer, that song, where he says there's comfort in being sad. Yeah, there's comfort in the familiar. I said that in another group today. There's comfort in what we know, even when it's bad. Even when it doesn't feel too good. And I don't know. I mean, just without hope and optimism, what is there to look forward to? If you don't believe in love, what's the point? What's the point of any of this? Didn't I tell you? Didn't I tell you with the lovers that there were going to be some big decisions that you had to make? Group 1, some choices have to be made. Sometimes the best decision is no decision at all. I think that there's definitely something to be said for you leaving the past in the past, leaving some people where they were with that Amber card. You can't change them. You're never going to get the apology that you deserve. You're never going to get the changed behavior that you would like to see. And I think that's where this balance is going to come in, is knowing when there's nothing you can do about a situation, that no decision, and when you can do something. Okay, let's get your wrap-up messages, and we'll bring the bees back in so they can be the good luck charm here. So we'll start off with houses. Group 1. I hope I haven't called you Group 3 at any point in this reading. It doesn't matter really because I've drawn all your cards, you know, like pre-pulled, but still. Group 1, April. We've got the 7th house. Yeah, I mean, Libra, Libra. There's going to be some big decisions to be made around your love life, around your friendships, around your family, everyone close to you, your circle, your inner circle. There's going to be decisions that have to be made. And there could be, you know, some soulmate divine counterpart coming in. 1st house. You're going to be definitely focusing on yourself. Self-love, self-care. We got those messages quite a few times. I mean, it's your time. Like, you deserve it. All that love you were giving away to people who could care less, give it to yourself. You deserve it. 4th house, family, home. Family, home life. Important decisions to be made around that as well. Choosing the best for yourself. Don't let anyone guilt you. Because at the end of the day, if they were in your position, they would do what they wanted to do. You don't have to justify or explain your need to do what is best for you. You don't have to justify that. You have a right to do what is good for your heart. You only get one life, as far as we know. I mean, yeah, you might reincarnate, but you're never going to get this life again. This exact life is yours, right? For all we know, this is all that is promised, okay? And so, with that being said, you deserve to follow your heart. Everybody does. Everybody does. And no one is going to choose the best for you, and no one knows what is best for you other than you. So, big decisions around home and family. Some of you could be moving. You could be moving. You could be changing your home. You could be ending some relationships and starting new ones. I do feel like you're going to start to feel more safe, though, because you haven't felt safe in a long time. Your root chakra, you have not felt safe. You have not felt secure. And so to see that turning around for you is a very beautiful thing. What zodiac signs? Let's see. You've got Gemini here, so that's the Lover's energy again. And you got duality as well. This is also Gemini energy. I think this is also really speaking to the idea that I think it's going to be a lot easier for you when new people come into your life for you to see who they are, both in their light and in their shadow side. You're not going to be wearing rose-colored glasses anymore. Okay? Now, if you do have a Gemini coming into your life, they tend to be quite charming. They rule the 3rd house, so they are very good talkers, very entertaining, smart, clever, jokester kind of energy, very funny, fun, lighthearted. They definitely tend to be connected with their inner child. I do think of them as being a bit artistic as well. Okay, Leo energy, my favorite. So, like I said, I did think maybe some of you were Leos watching this reading, but also Leo energy, so feeling more confident, feeling more self-assured within yourself, feeling more connected to your heart space because Leo rules the heart, feeling like you can advocate for yourself better. And if a Leo is coming into your life, they are quite loyal, sociable, they can be chatty. Also, I think some of that fun, lighthearted energy, you know, it's a fire sign, so it's going to be passionate, someone who is adventurous, and I think someone who could honestly teach you a little bit about self-care and self-love, and that it's not a bad thing to choose yourself, and it's not a bad thing to prioritize yourself. Because Leo is not selfish, but it is self-absorbed energy. You know, it is a self-focused energy. We have Sagittarius, so another fire sign. This is mutable fire, so Leo is a bit stubborn, right? It's fixed fire. Sagittarius is mutable fire, so this is still a warm, beautiful energy to come into your life, but Sagittarius has a lot of wisdom. It's quite philosophical. Sagittarius are also very fun. They can be, I think, a lot more blunt, but also very truthful. And I think you'll find that refreshing after the energy that you've been dealing with. I think you'll actually find that to be a nice change of pace, because Sagittarius is very much what you see is what you get kind of energy. So I think you'll like that. I think you'll have a lot of fun with that. And you could also be traveling. Sagittarius talks about long distance travel, exploring new cultures, going to different countries. So you could be meeting someone like that, you know, someone who has lived abroad, someone who travels a lot, or you could be moving yourself with the 4th house. Alright, so group 1, this was your reading. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in my next one. I am wishing you the very best. Group 2, welcome to your reading. I'm actually starting with you all today because I felt just such a positive energy when I was shuffling your cards. It was very warm and cozy, so let's see what April 2023 has in store for you. So we're starting off with these 2 cards representing what you have learned thus far this year and sort of the energy that you're bringing into April. So we have reach and we have idleness, and I love the balance between these 2 cards here. So you really have mastered this idea of knowing when to sit still, when to wait for guidance, and when to actually take inspired action, you know, when to take a sign from your guides and run with it, you know, like you have recognized when it's time to move and when it's time to rest, both in sort of moving forward in your life, but also just on a day-to-day basis. Like, you're listening to the signals from your body, you're listening to the signals from your mind that tell you when you need to take a rest and when you need to get up and get going with something. And so there's this energy of just being in tune. Both of these cards here are depicting scenes in nature, right? And so, you know, nature in and of itself, Mother Gaia, that energy is very much divine feminine energy. It's very much connected to your intuition. And if you think about nature, nature is always sort of in tune with itself, right? Like, you know, nature sort of moves at its own pace with its own cycles, and nature cannot be rushed, right? Like society can do whatever, but nature will continue to be its own force, right? And I think sometimes that sort of chaotic side to divine feminine energy is what strikes sort of fear, right? Because I think that we forget that in our sort of civilized society, right? And so sometimes nature comes along and reminds us who is really in charge, and that's when we have hurricanes and tornadoes and things like that. So there's something about you where you're really listening to sort of the signals that your body is showing you when you need to rest. You're really taking your time for self-care, and you're not in a rush. You know, you're not in a rush. Like, I think for the first time in your life, you feel like everything is on time. Everything is on time, and you don't have this fear. You know, you're embracing the unknown. You're embracing this idea that some things are just outside of your control, even your own body. Even your own body. Like, you're not pushing yourself to the point to where you're exhausted, you're burned out. You know, like if you need a little bit more sleep, you need a little bit more sleep. If you're feeling more sluggish some mornings, you're like, okay, it's an off day, and that's all right. You know, you're not forcing yourself to be cheerful. You're not forcing yourself to feel energized every day. You're not, you know, guzzling down energy drinks and coffee, trying to manufacture energy. You know, if you're drinking coffee, you're relaxing in the morning sun. You know what I mean? Like, you're just not forcing yourself to feel any sort of way. And if you're feeling restless some days, then you get up and you go do something, you know? Like, you're just sort of embracing how you feel and going with it. And I really like to, there's this feeling of like you making peace with sort of the natural order of things, okay? So even on a day-to-day basis, you know, like, you're not upset if the weather is a certain way. You're not feeling this frustration with the universe, like, why hasn't XYZ happened yet? You know, you kind of are just like shrugging, and you're like, well, it is what it is. You know, if something hasn't happened yet in my life, it's either not meant for me or it's not the right time, and it is what it is. So you're coming into April with this newfound feeling of acceptance of yourself, acceptance of your circumstances. You know, you're just like, you know what? Things are the way that they are. They won't always be this way, right? But for right now, they are what they are. And I think that openness, that receptivity, that letting go of control is really priming you, I think, for a really great month. But let's get into it, okay? I have a feeling this is going to be a longer reading, so I hope you have settled in here. But we're not rushing. We're not rushing with this energy. Okay, we have the Sun card. No wonder I was feeling a very positive vibe right off the cuff with your group. I tell you, like, I always go in order. I think there's only been one other time where I went out of order, but I just had such a good vibe from your group when I was shuffling the cards. And now I see why with the Sun card. This deck also has the Solitude card. This isn't a typical deck in the tarot. I'm sorry, a typical card in the tarot, so this card is unique to this deck. I also didn't use this deck for the other two groups, so the fact that you got the Solitude card is really significant here. We also have the Ace of Pentacles, we have the Page of Wands, we have the Queen of Cups, love her, we have the Four of Cups, and then these two cards came out together. We have the Devil and we have the King of Cups, so you have a match here. I don't know who is being loud outside, but I hope that they can stop. Hopefully you don't hear that. Okay. I really like how this is laying out for you. In the month of April, remember how we said like you were really going with the flow, you weren't forcing things, you just had this energy of acceptance, of balance, of letting go, but also knowing when to take action and when to move forward and when to get going. That is really reflected in your tarot as well, but I feel like Spirit is giving us another added message here, that you are really raising your standards. You're raising your expectations, and if something comes along that doesn't feel good for you, that doesn't feel like exactly what you've been wanting, what you feel like you deserve, you're saying no to it with this Four of Cups. So you're really only accepting offers if it's an equal match to you with this Queen and King of Cups. If it's not an equal match to you, regardless of whether we're talking about love, career, even just your day-to-day decisions, if it's not an equal match to you, if it's not exactly what you deserve, I think especially in terms of like your physical resources with the Ace of Pentacles here, so anything related to your professional life or your material abundance, if it's not an equal match to you, you're like, nope. Like, we're not settling for less. We're not doing that. We're not accepting less than what we deserve. You know, there's no fear here. There's no fear of loneliness. There's no fear of being on your own. There's no fear of just waiting. And so, you know, maybe in the past you settled for things because you didn't want to be alone, you know, so maybe you settled for things that were less than what you deserved, you know, so if it meant that you were in an unhappy romantic partnership, or if it meant that you were having friends who really didn't have your back, or, you know, you tolerated certain behaviors from family members to keep the peace so you wouldn't feel isolated from your family, you know, you're not doing that anymore. You're like, you know what? If I have to be on my own in this little bubble, enjoying my own energy, then that's all right. Okay, my mom likes to watch the Medea like plays, and she had been watching one, and it was like, if you don't have peace in your house, something is wrong. Like, if you walk up in your house and you don't have peace, something's got to go. In your home environment, of all places, you deserve peace. And so it was like, if I have to be by myself on the sidewalk with nothing but a puppet and a goldfish, then so be it. And it reminded me of that because of the little fish here. So I probably butchered the quote because that had to have been over 5 years ago since I like saw that play with her. But yeah, I think I don't know, play, movie, whatever. She was watching it on the TV. So yeah, you don't care. You don't care if you're totally by yourself. That's better than being with the wrong people in the wrong environment with the wrong crowd. You know, you're just not settling, you know, if it's a toxic work environment, an unhappy partnership, unhappy friendship, doesn't matter. Like, you're not settling for less than what you deserve. And so, and I think, again, there's that balance between I'm either going to wait for the universe to bring me what I deserve, or if Spirit is telling me I need to move with the Page of Wands, I am taking action, and I am taking myself and my energy somewhere where I am wanted, you know, and where people will be appreciative of me and my efforts and my energy. And so with the Sun, it's like onward and upward, you know, and so I think the entire month you're feeling optimistic, but also accepting of what is. And, you know, you're just waiting for your ship to come in. You're waiting for the right opportunity, the right person, and you're not settling for less. And that's your energy. Let's see here. These two cards here are going to illustrate your energy within the month. So as the month progresses, what sort of energy are you bringing to the table? So we have She Who Surprises, Surprise, Discovery, and Revelation. And we have She Who Waits, Patience, Waiting, and Determination. So we've already talked about this energy of patience, so that will be continuing throughout the month. And I really like how, even though this is a card about patience, it also says determination. You know, if you're just sitting still, that can sometimes be harder than doing something, because, you know, when we're actively doing things, even if it's not making a difference, we can at least feel useful, and it can give us like a false sense of control, even if we end up moving further away from what we were wanting. So an example of this would be like you busying yourself applying to job after job after job. Even though none of them are really sparking your interest, you at least feel like you're doing something, whereas you could just be sitting around waiting, and that waiting can make you feel even more impatient because you're not actively distracting yourself by doing something, even though Spirit is going to bring the right opportunity to you, and there's no need to distract yourself, you know? And if you were to apply to a bunch of jobs, even though they didn't really sound appealing to you because of the low pay, the lack of health benefits, the lack of time off, or just not being an area of interest for you, and then you get one of those jobs and you accept it just for a change of something different because you are really unhappy in your current job, you just end up in the same bad situation, but with a different cast, essentially, like a different environment, but the same BS is what I'm hearing. And so, and you know, you can apply that to a romantic situation too, you know, like you leave one bad relationship and just jump into the next to avoid being alone, you know, and so you're not doing that, which is great. I also really like the repeating imagery here of the butterflies. So this butterfly is coming to her, right? And you see like the swarm of butterflies surrounding this lady as well. And so I think during the month of April, Spirit is going to surprise you with something when you least expect it, when you're just kind of in your own energy, enjoying your life, distracting yourself in that way rather than just trying to control the situation, just enjoying your life. Something will be revealed to you, a surprise opportunity will come to you, you'll discover something new, and it's going to bring about that Sun card energy, that happiness. And so there's definitely going to be a blessing here on your material circumstances, your material wealth, your financial abundance. There's going to be some unexpected either opportunity or unexpected income, unexpected ability to travel, even to have a nice little vacation. There's going to be something there, some opportunity given to you that's really unexpected, and it's going to be, I'm hearing, exactly what the doctor ordered. So something that's going to be really good for your mental and emotional health here. As I am getting this feeling that some of you guys just need a break. You just need this feeling of like safety almost, of like things are stable enough to where I can take a break, I can afford to get away. I feel like some of you all really, really need that. You just need that time. Okay, so these two cards here are going to represent your overall themes for the month of April, and these cards here as well. I don't know. I was in the mood to use two different decks. Okay. So we have success and we have new beginnings. Okay, so the butterflies again, more butterflies. And the repeating force here, that talks about your stability. That talks about your foundation. So yeah, I mean, for some of you, like you really are wanting to get away. You're wanting a change. Some of you may want to move your home. You know, you may want to live somewhere else. You may be needing more than a vacation. Some of you may be needing an entire fresh new start. Doesn't mean necessarily that you'll be moving in the month of April, but you may have an opportunity to start planning for that. So, you know, maybe Spirit orchestrates it so through word of mouth you hear about a job opportunity, or you connect with someone who can give you advice on how to get a visa to move, or you know, some of you may get just a promotion, and so, you know, that could involve you maybe changing location, even though you're staying in your current, you know, current company, I guess. So yeah, so definitely more success, which is really, really great. There is this feeling of leveling up because you have raised your standards. And so now remember, with every new beginning, there is also an ending. So there is going to be something ending in your life, or the beginning of an ending, which sounds kind of funny. But, you know, we're talking about a 30-day, 31-day time frame, right? And so I don't know how many days exactly there are in April, but you know, not all of this is going to come to pass within April, but it feels like things are kickstarting. And so something may start to leave your life as something else starts to enter. And that's really nice too, because that is in line or in alignment with the seasons. Now, I know depending upon where you live, you know, it may not be springtime, but, you know, for a lot of you, it very well could be. And so, you know, as winter is leaving, spring ushers in new beginnings. And so remember, we were talking about that connection with nature. It's really nice to see your cards also echoing that idea, even as we continue into, you know, the rest of your reading here. Yeah, and you know, success means different things to different people. And so whatever it is that you've been craving, whatever it is that Ace of Pentacles represents to you, and even we can take this as the Ace of Cups. It's just that you're saying no to anything that is less than a full cup here. So this could also be talking about your love life. You know, you just have to take what resonates, but especially too because we have the Queen and the King of Cups. And you know, for some of you, it could also be that someone from your past offered you sort of this half cup, you know, so maybe, you know, your ex wanted to get back together with you or something like that, and you're like, no, I deserve more. And you committing to that decision and staying strong in that decision could also be leading you to your divine counterpart, because this can sometimes look like the Lover's card too, right? Except it's the devil. You know, in the Lover's card, you have like an angel and the two lovers. And so it's like, you know, we're saying goodbye to this so we can welcome in the lovers, which would be your divine counterpart. And we have a match here with the Court cards, Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces energy with the King and the Queen of Cups. So you staying firm in that decision to not go back, you know, to that half-baked love, you know, that half cup, and instead saying, I deserve a full cup, would then be, yeah, like you welcoming in your soulmate level, divine counterpart, true love kind of connection there. You know, the sort of love that you deserve. So yeah, what does success mean to you? Because, and what fresh start have you been craving? And in what area of your life? Because that's going to reveal, you know, even more depth to this reading than what I'm saying, because it is a general reading. Okay. We have leadership here. This to me, I mean, you're really taking control of your own life, you know, and taking control of your life, it's funny because when we say something like that, we think, oh, you know, that means taking action. But you have understood now that it's not always all about taking action. Sometimes taking control of your life means knowing when to sit down, be still, and wait for the guidance to come. And I think that's really like where your wisdom lies in the month of April. I almost said leadership and then it came out as lisdom, so sorry about that. Okay, we have strength and we have ritual. Listening to your heart as well. Listening to your heart as well, and understanding that there is strength and courage in that, because other people may be telling you that you're crazy not to settle. You know, other people may be telling you that you don't deserve better, that your standards are too high, your expectations are too high, what you're wanting is unrealistic. I've been told that myself in my life, like, you know, like, I think because other people have settled, you know, they kind of think that you should too. You know, like if it's good enough for them, it should be good enough for you. But you're not everybody else group too. You are your own person, and you know what is going to make you happy and what is going to leave you feeling resentful in the, you know, in the long run here. So don't let anyone make you feel guilty for staying strong in this position of like, I am going to wait. I would rather wait than settle for less. And you know, you can really do yourself a disservice in the long run if you rush into things because of certain, you know, societal or even pressures from your family or your friends about what timeline you should be on, you know. So there are certain ideas depending upon, I think, what culture you're from and what your family background is like, or even just your friend circle, about when you should be married or when you should be buying your first house, or, you know, just what you should be doing even, you know, at age 30, at age 25, at age 40. And, you know, like that might not be the narrative that you want to subscribe to, you know, like you have your own desires and you have your own wishes, and no one else knows what your heart is yearning for than you. And you know, if you wouldn't trade places with somebody, you probably shouldn't take their advice, you know, and nothing is going to resonate with you like the guidance of your own heart, because that is what is connected to source energy. And yeah, I mean, this is really a private conversation between you and the divine. And so like it really, you know, no one else really has any place in that conversation, you know. That's something that's between you and your God, you know, between you and whatever higher power you believe in. It really has nothing to do with anybody else. And I think that you're also finding a lot of power and strength in your day-to-day routine. And so you're really, I think, optimizing that. So you're eating foods that feel energizing to you. You know, you have your sleep schedule on point. You know, you are attending to your self-care, whatever that looks like to you. And everything feels very deeply personal. You know, like you are 100% like living your life for yourself and feeling super good about that. You know, feeling really good about the place that you're in. And you know, when you have peace with yourself, that's the most powerful position you can be in. And I think that you're enjoying it. You're enjoying this feeling of contentment that you have within yourself. Someone's doing some yard work outside, so I hope that you can't hear it. But anyway, let's continue on. We have tree, let them go. We have escapist, come home to yourself. And we have thorns, weave together the crown that you deserve. I really, really love this card in particular. I feel like this is a really nice summary of what we've been talking about so far. And I think that there's a lot of power here in you sort of unburdening yourself from any ties to the past. And so remember how we had that Four of Cups? You know, like what was offered to you before really wasn't what you deserved. You know, you deserved more. And so I feel like you're finding power in breaking free from that, finding power in not returning to the same people, places, and things that hurt you to begin with. You know, sometimes we can seek comfort and safety in the very people and places and even behaviors, you know, like unhealthy coping skills that caused us all that pain to begin with, because it's what we know, it's what's familiar. And I think there's a false sense of security in what is familiar. And so you're freeing yourself from that. You know, you're not seeking comfort in the same thing or the same person or the same behavior or pattern that was your very undoing in the first place. And so, you know, with that Page of Wands and now this burning tree here, I think for some of you, this could even go as deep as severing certain ancestral patterns, you know, things that have, I don't want to say like a family curse, but, you know, just repeating patterns within your bloodline, within your family tree, you know, sort of the generational behaviors, or I'm almost like this feeling of unluckiness, but that's not what it really is, but I think it feels like that. It feels like maybe you came from a family that was just unlucky, you know, and maybe that's why it kind of feels like a curse, even though that's not what it is. But it's like you're being strong enough to say, no, like I don't want this life. I don't want the life that my mother had, or that my grandmother had, or my father, my grandfather, my siblings. I don't want that life. I want something different for myself. And that's not coming from a place of judgment of anyone else. It's just not for me. And so I feel like there's also this idea of you staying really firm and asserting your own identity. You know, I think especially if you have a lot of 7th house placements in your birth chart, I really, really do. And so I'm familiar with this energy myself. And you don't have to, but if you do, it can, or even just a lot of Libra placements in your birth chart, it can be really difficult to focus on your own ego and what, because ego isn't necessarily a bad thing. Like, we all need a healthy amount of ego to assert ourselves and to know what we want and what we desire, and to have a sense of identity. And when you have a lot of 7th house placements or a lot of placements in Libra, you're constantly thinking about the other. And you know, it can make you really empathic, it can make you a really compassionate person, but when anything is too much, it can feel overwhelming, and it can really debilitate your ego to the point to where you become a people pleaser, or you just get lost in other people's energy, and then you can become really withdrawn and, you know, have a tendency towards being a recluse, a hermit, you know, and not having a healthy social life. So yeah, anyway, I feel like for you all, this is a month where you're really standing firm and like, this is what I want, this is who I am, and you're almost, I think in a very healthy way though, you're going to be daydreaming a lot, I think, in the month of April, but in a good way. It's like, it's almost like it's about time. It's about time for you to give yourself permission to dream up a new vision for yourself, because you really are on the cusp, I think, of a new chapter, of a new adventure, and it's time for that. It's time for you to grow into your wings, to embrace them, to accept them, and to, I think, understand that they've always been there. This power has always been there for you to decide when you're ready to embody it, to do something with it. And with this, weave together the crown that you deserve, the thorns, like, and I think there's a part of you here that understands as well, like every rose has its thorn, right? Every path that you could possibly take from here forward has some sort of obstacle, some sort of challenge, some sort of rough patch. That's life, right? No road is going to be the easy road. Every road has something. And so for you all, I feel like the difference here is that you now feel confident enough, strong enough within yourself, you feel connected to yourself, that you don't feel like you're doomed to fail. You know, it doesn't matter what the unknown is. I'm brave enough to take that first step with that Page of Wands, you know? The Page of Wands, like, listen, don't discount the pages in tarot. Like, they are the ones who are connected enough, I think, to that sense of childlike innocence to be brave enough to take the risks that maybe a king or a queen wouldn't. You know, that's why I say don't discount the pages, because they're the ones who are willing to go for it. They're the ones who are brave. And yeah, it may be a little bit reckless in the eyes of others, but hey, what's life without a little bit of risk, right? And so otherwise you stay stuck for the rest of your life. And so, you know, it's like, it doesn't matter what lies ahead on this path. I know it's the path that I want to take, and I trust myself enough to start. And I think that trust within yourself comes from this identification, finally, that you are connected to the divine, you are connected to source. That's that attunement that we picked up in the beginning with nature, right? Like this understanding that you are a part of all of this. And so, you know, I think this trust in yourself really also comes from, or it goes hand in hand with a trust in the divine, a trust in source, you know, the trust in spirit. That spirit is not going to lead you astray. And so that's why you can follow your heart now, even if it doesn't make rational, logical sense to others around you who say, no, you should stay where you're at and you should just settle. Okay, we have change now. A resistance to change is a resistance to life itself. Open your heart and mind to new beginnings. I mean, we've said this a million times over, so I'm not even going to explain it. I think you all get it. Okay, and then we have peace. Just because some people are fueled by drama doesn't mean you have to attend the performance. Make your life a drama-free zone. You know, I feel like you're just not investing. You know, you're just not investing in anything that doesn't feel nourishing and good to you. And that's why I said before, like, you're not afraid to be alone anymore. You know, it's much better to be alone than it is to be around the wrong people. And then we have intention. What if the only resolution you made was to love yourself more? Yeah, there's a lot of self-love coming through this month, a lot of acceptance. And I think you're also getting very clear on your intentions about what you want. So you're very clear about which path you're taking moving forward. Whereas, you know, maybe in the beginning of the month or in March, you were really confused about what you wanted or where to go. You just knew you wanted something different. By the end of the month, you're going to be very clear on what, you know, what's the path forward and what are going to be those initial steps. That's not to say you're going to have it all planned out, all figured out, but you are going to know how to start on that journey, and, you know, the rest of it, you trust, you know, the divine to guide you, which I think is also really, really powerful. Okay, first we're going to see which houses will be significant for April for you. Group 2, April 2023. Okay, we have the 11th house, so Aquarius. So friendships could be really important during this month. I think also this idea of change, this idea of advocating for yourself, this idea that you're not afraid to go against the grain. You're not afraid to be different. You're not afraid for people to think you're weird. You are actually embracing what makes you different and unique rather than feeling shame for it. And so I feel like for some of you as well, you could be connecting with some soul family members. You know, it's like, and again, maybe not all of it's happening in April, but because you're very clear about who you are, you're in this place of self-love and acceptance, and you're receptive to change as well. And so that's the kind of energy that primes you for those soul family reunions, right? Those soul family connections. And so I do feel like you could be, you know, getting ready to welcome in like a new best friend, you know? I always associate Aquarius energy with the energy of good friends. So this could also be a better work environment for you as well. All right, let's get another one. We have the 8th house. So this is Scorpio energy. This is Pluto energy. A lot of major transformations. I mean, it's a whole new beginning. A whole new beginning is starting for you. With the 8th house as well, a lot of healing is happening, but I think you've already been on that trajectory. Like, I don't think that's anything new for you. I think you've been on a self-love healing journey for quite some time. And remember, we got the repeating butterflies, so you really are going through a personal transformation that is echoing into your external environment as well. It's like you've outgrown, you know, it's like, you know, if you're a caterpillar, right, emerging from a cocoon, and so now you have these wings, it's like, I need space. I need space to move my wings. I need space to fly. This environment with these people feels stifling to me now. And so I feel like, you know, in some ways that can feel lonely, right? If you know, aren't connecting anymore, if you wish that other people had grown with you instead of you growing apart from them, but you can't help it. Like, you can't stay the way that you are and not grow because other people are staying stagnant, right? Like, you have to keep growing. You have to keep moving. And so, yeah, I feel like there's an acceptance of that in April. And the 4th house. So yeah, you really could be changing homes. There could be a change within your family and dynamics within your family. You could be setting better boundaries with certain family members, reconnecting with family members. And this could also represent those soul family connections coming in that we were talking about before as well. Okay, let's see which zodiac signs could be significant. Okay, we've got Gemini here, so this could be representing those soulmate level connections coming in. This could also represent you having better communication, especially with the way that you talk to yourself and that internal dialogue that you have. Could also just represent a Gemini person coming into your life as well. Okay, now we have Pisces. So this could be that King of Cups coming in. If you were resonating with this King of Cups being a romantic partner for you, that could be a thing. Pisces can also talk about your dreams. And remember, we were talking about you daydreaming more in the month of April. Now we have Leo. I feel like this is you really standing in your power, really feeling more confident. You could also have a Leo person coming into your life. I also feel like you'll be more connected again to your heart space because Leo rules the heart. Yeah, I feel like there's a sense of self-assurance, but also this feeling of like not wanting to hide anymore, you know, like really wanting to be clear about who you are and feeling good about that. You know, there's no need. I feel like if you're the type of person who's like really private and you tend to not like to tell people like what your plans are, you know, because you have this fear that they're going to speak negatively about it or influence the energy of it. I've been like this myself, but I almost feel like you feel so strong and confident and assured about this that you don't care who knows. Like, and I think that's totally new for you. I think that's completely new and different for you, but you just feel so supported by the divine that you feel like untouchable, that no one can speak any negativity on you because you and your dream and your vision is protected. It's meant for you. It's your destiny. And like no one can stop this progression. That's what it feels like. Beautiful energy. So group 2, this was your reading. I hope it resonated. I hope you enjoyed it. And please take care. Group 3, welcome to your reading. So we're starting off here with some really beautiful cards. This rainbow here is making me think of the 10 of Cups. I'll be interested to see if that comes out in your tarot. If not, that's okay. But I love how it sort of looks like this is coming from the heavens, right? And it's light that's being filtered through her, and then it's washing out, it's growing, you know, as it moves through her heart space here, it's sort of melting out like this beautiful watercolor. And so I like this idea that when you're connected to the divine during April, you know, when you feel connected to spirit, when you feel connected to source, that is lighting up your heart. And then because you're in this really beautiful energy, it's shining outward and coloring other aspects of your life, but also, you know, sort of improving the energy of the collective as well. So if you ever feel lost, or if you ever feel down during the month of April, really reconnect to source. You know, in whatever way that resonates to you. You know, for some people it will be through prayer. You know, other people, you know, feel connected to the divine when they're out in nature. You may find you feel connected to source when you're listening to music, or when you're reading a book, or when you're talking to a friend. You know, whatever makes you feel that sense of personal connection, really embrace that. Really embrace that when you feel lost, because you can always reconnect to that energy. And there's overall, I think, this desire to feel like you're in love with your life. You know, it's not like I just want to feel happy all the time, or I want to feel at peace all the time. It's like you understand that that's not really a reasonable request, you know, like you're not always going to feel happy, peaceful, and contented, but there is this idea of I want to feel in love with my life. And, you know, when we love someone, when we love something, we're not always happy with it, right? Like, you know, even the people closest to us can frustrate us, can test us, can, you know, really drive us crazy sometimes, right? And we can get angry with the people that we love, but that love doesn't change. And it's almost like you want to have that relationship with your life. You know, you want to feel like you love your life, you know, and that love never goes away. And I think that is starting from within. You know, it's starting from feeling connected to source again, feeling like you love yourself, and then that is radiating outwards. So it's starting from within, and then it's radiating outwards. But I mean, this could also be a very romantic month for you as well. You know, it could be the month where you meet someone, you meet your next romantic partner. If you're single, that could be coming to pass. You could also be having like a physical glow up for some of you. That could be starting from within. So, you know, if you're eating better, if you're sleeping better, that's going to show up in your physical appearance, right? So some of you could be having a little bit of a glow up, or, you know, even if you're feeling more confident, that's starting from within, right? And then you feel good enough about yourself, right? That you, you know, are more willing to maybe wear clothes that before you told yourself you couldn't pull off, you know, but it wasn't an issue with your body, it was an issue with your confidence level. So that could also be, you know, how these cards are applying to your life in April. So just take what resonates, okay? But how gorgeous is this card, right? Like, her hair looks like fire. I also feel like if you're an artistic person, this could be a great month for your creativity. I mean, you could find yourself, you know, whatever it is that you like to do, but you could find yourself writing more, painting more, just creating more. And that could be because of that connection to source, because, I mean, what is, and we call it divine inspiration, don't we? Right? So, yeah, I feel like you could be getting these sparks of inspiration that actually come from the divine, and that, you know, help boost your creativity. So you could be creating yeah, some works of art, whatever you like to do that really make you feel happy. Okay, let's get into your tarot now. I chose the Weird Cat Tarot for you guys. We have the Knight of Wands. We have the Three of Wands. Okay, so a lot of fiery energy right off the bat. Not a surprise with this card, right? We have the Two of Cups. We have the Seven of Swords, the Five of Cups, the Hierophant, the Five of Swords, and the Seven of Wands. I'm actually going to put the Seven of Wands up here. I feel like for you all, group 3, there's this idea of you finding light within the dark. And there's this idea of you feeling like maybe certain things in your past were your forever things. And then you sort of having to go through this process of grieving and emotionally processing the heartbreaking reality that these were not your forever things. You know, so whether this was a relationship or a career path, whatever the case, you know, even a physical location, like you thought, this is where I'm going to put down roots, and then it turned out to not be it. And so I feel like sometimes you blamed yourself for it, sometimes you recognize that it just wasn't meant for you, other times, you know, it was because you were lied to, because people were being manipulative, wearing a false mask, pretending to be something that they weren't. Even, you know, jobs can be like that, right? Like you'll get a new job and they'll tell you, oh, we're just one big happy family here. Or, you know, they make those false promises about, you know, what your, you know, workload is going to be like, or what your schedule is going to be like. And then, you know, once they get you committed to the position, you find out, oh no, that is not the case. This is, you know, way too much work for the compensation that they're offering, or, you know how it goes. And so it could have been something like that. But I mean, Five of Cups, Five of Swords, Seven of Swords, like even the Seven of Wands, you know, this is not good energy. And so, you know, there's a desire here to want to get away from all that. With the Three of Wands, it's like, I gotta get out of here. I gotta get out of this. And with the Knight of Wands, it's like, let's pick up what we can and get away. You know, even with the Seven of Wands here, it's like, even if moving away from this, starting over, as daunting as that sounds, it's better than staying here. It's better than staying stuck in here. It's better than feeling controlled and having these fights and having these, like, betrayals and feeling like I can't trust any of this. You know, there's just this feeling of wanting to move on. And it's like, you know, even if moving on means trying again and being in the dark again, because even though we don't have the moon here, you know, especially with this figure here, like there's a sense of being in the dark, of not knowing what the future holds, but knowing that it has to be better than this, because this is not where your happiness lies. And so that's why there's that craving to feel like you love your life, and to be able to recognize that you deserve better, because you're searching for something with that Two of Cups. You're searching for something that's going to love you back. You know, it's like, I want to love my life, and I want my life to love me back. You know, I want to be in a place that resonates with my heart. I want to be in a place that resonates with my soul. I want to be around good people. And there is a feeling here of just, I don't even feel like you're, I don't really feel like you're hurting still. I don't feel like you're hurting still from this Five of Swords and Seven of Swords. Even if more secrets are being revealed in the month of April, it's almost like it just doesn't matter, because you're already fed up. You know, like you're already fed up. So anything else added to it, it's like, what else is new? This is old news. I'm just sick of it. And so I think that honestly, and sometimes I've had this experience in my life where I feel like bad things or unwanted things keep happening to push us out of places that we have outgrown and places that aren't really meant for us. So I've had that feeling before of, at my last job even, it was getting to a point of just ridiculousness. I was like, this cannot be real, you know, like the way that I was being spoken to at work, the way that management was handling certain things was unbelievable to me. It was just crazy. And I was like, what next? And, you know, for a minute there, I was like, why is this happening to me? Like, what did I do to deserve this? But then I was like, wait a minute. Let me sit for a second and really think about how much I don't like being here, how much I feel stuck, how much I feel like I deserve better than this. It's time for me to go. And the universe is going to keep doing this until I get that message and until I get going and move. You know, and so I feel like it's not a punishment. If anything, it's like you're being given some tough love here. You're trying, you know, the universe is trying to push you out. So you are being pushed out so that you can leave and get what you do deserve. And you can feel like you love your life and your life loves you back. But it's that tough love, like you're being shoved out. Because I think, you know, Spirit has tried to encourage you maybe, but for whatever reason, you weren't seeing it. And so it's like, you know, because you weren't seeing it, now we have to push. And so you feel like that Seven of Wands, you know, that really overwhelming energy, like everything's coming at you at one time and everything's falling apart at one time. And you're feeling overwhelmed and you're feeling tired and you're feeling just, is to push you out. Because that energy is not sustainable. And you're not meant to feel that way all the time. And so, yeah, I mean, it's not easy. It's not, you know, a pleasant experience. And it is scary. And when I did leave that job, I was scared. Because I had, you know, I don't typically leave a job without having something else lined up. But I did. I left. And it wasn't even a month later, like, that I had a job where I was making double than what I was making before. And it's so much less stress. And so, you know, it's having that trust, having that faith. But if you want the, you know, if you want the universe to bet on you, you have to bet on the universe too. And that's that reciprocity. This doesn't just talk about our relationship with other, like, human beings, right? This talks about our relationship with the universe as well. You know, if you want the universe to help you out, you got to give a little too. And what they're asking of you is faith. Trust. So who are you going to put your trust in? This Seven of Swords? No. Right? This dog pretending to be a cat? No. Who are you going to trust? Who are you going to look to for guidance? And I mean, this kind of goes in line with group 2, that idea of trusting yourself is the same thing as trusting Source, because you're connected to the divine. And trusting and having faith in the divine is the same thing as having faith in yourself if you can recognize the connection between the two. Yeah, this Two of Cups, I think, is really, really talking about your relationship to the divine. And so, what would make you feel in love with your life? What would make you feel better? Because that's what you're really being asked to move towards here. It's a pretty heavy energy in April. It's pretty heavy. There's a lot of pieces to this. I'm sure that I am really just scratching the surface of all of this, given that it's a general reading, but There is a need for change. There is a need for movement. There is a need for you to get away from this Five of Swords, this Seven of Swords, this Five of Cups. Even the Hierophant can talk about an oppressive energy, especially when it's cushioned by all this. So with the Three of Wands and the Knight of Wands, like, you're meant to get away from it. Who can grow, who can bloom in soil that toxic? Spirit wants you out. It's like you're asking for a miracle. You're asking for Spirit to help you grow seeds in toxic soil. And Spirit is trying to tell you, we got to get out of this soil. There's no nutrients to be found here. And it's like, you're not getting that. That's where there's the disconnect. And it's so hard. It's so hard. And like I said, I've had to do it in my own life. It's so hard to take that risk. It is. And there needs to be an acknowledgement of that. I personally, it drives me up the wall when I watch a tarot reading or any of these type of spiritual content creators say, well, you need to leave whatever isn't serving you. You need to listen. Like, this is the real world. People have bills to pay. People have certain obligations, certain responsibilities, certain restrictions. I was stuck in that job for a long time because it was tied to me graduating on time because I was getting internship credit from it. So I couldn't leave for the longest. So if, you know, I was getting a reading and they were saying, leave what doesn't serve you, I can't. I can't. Because I have to graduate on time, period. That's it. And so if there is some sort of restriction or like that, don't feel like this is, don't feel like this is Spirit. Don't feel like this is a mandate, okay? Don't feel like that. And I don't want you to feel invalidated. But when you can get out of whatever this is, take that opportunity. Be brave enough to do it. If you can't right now, if you can't in the month of April, that's okay. But this is telling you that eventually you need to get out. You've got to find some sort of way, or some sort of way is going to be presented to you, but you do need to get out. So, you know, I hope that makes you, I hope that prevents you from feeling invalidated, okay? Okay. Let's see what your energy is during the month of April. We have She Who Radiates, Knowing, Ambition, and Confidence. And we have She Who Persists, Perspective, Defiant, and Persistent. I love this. She Who Radiates. Did we not talk about your beautiful energy radiating outward and helping the collective? Here's the thing. This is why you are a darling, you know, of the universe here. This is why Spirit is favoring you. This is why Spirit is trying to help you, even if it feels like tough love. This is why they care. Because all of us are loved by the divine, but some of us, I think, fall in the limelight a little bit more than others. And it's because you need that support. You need it. You are a child of the divine and you need it. And I had a silent reading that spoke to that idea recently, and you may be from that group. I think it was the What Makes You So Alluring silent reading, but I could be wrong. But yeah, your energy is radiating outward. You know, like you're having a really hard time. You are in the most rotten soil, and yet you are persisting. You are still growing. You are still doing your best. And I feel like that needs to be applauded. That needs to be recognized. I'm hearing standing ovation, like snaps for you, group 3. And I feel like that's why you're going to be ultimately rewarded for all of this. You know, like your efforts are not going to be unrecognized. I'm also hearing that sunflowers are going to be a sign of good luck for you, a positive omen for you, I'm hearing in the month of April. So if you see a sunflower anywhere, doesn't even have to be the real flower. If you just see a drawing of it, imagery of it, if you see the Queen of Wands coming out, for you, if you're watching tarot readings in the month of April, know that you chose the right group, and know that that is Spirit really recognizing your efforts and saying, keep going, we see you, keep going. And yeah, so sunflowers will be a good omen for you. I am hearing, make sure you're persisting with the right things. You know, like Spirit doesn't want you like white knuckling it, trying to survive. I'm hearing uninhabitable circumstances. Spirit doesn't want you putting your energy towards survival. Spirit wants you to put your energy towards thriving and towards changing and getting yourself out of these uninhabitable circumstances as best as you can, and towards having faith that things can get better. And that there is a reality for you that exists where you can feel in love with your life and you can feel that sense of belonging, that sense of rightness. Because I do feel like there needs to be a belief that it's possible for you. And some of y'all don't believe in miracles, and Spirit is saying you need to change that. You do need to change that. You need to change that mindset. Okay, these cards here are going to represent major themes in your life in April. You did get an extra card, so it's definitely going to be a significant month for you. We have Dream Sweet, Sleep Deep. We have Romance. And we have Harmony. This is echoing that idea, again, that you want to feel like you're in love with your life. You're really wanting peace and harmony. You're wanting to feel like you have harmonious relationships. You want to feel in harmony with your life. You want to feel like your life reflects what you love. And you want to feel peaceful about it. You know, I feel like some of you guys, like you've just been having insomnia, you've been worried, you've been overthinking, you've been stressed. And it's just like, how can I get through the day? Because it feels like everything's coming at me at once. I feel attacked, I feel overwhelmed, I feel overburdened. And it's almost like you feel like you're, there's a feeling of like being casted out or being forgotten or feeling abandoned almost. And this feeling of like almost like I've got to sleep with one eye open because what's happening next? What's coming at me next? And so in the month of April, with that reconnection to the divine, with this, I feel like this renewed, because I do feel like you had this sense of like optimism and hope and faith before, but I feel like it was just beaten out of you, like life just got you really down and you were feeling super disconnected. And when that feeling of reconnection happens, that we got in the very beginning, right, with that light card, that's when you can finally sleep better. You know, that's when you can believe that good things can happen for you again. And you know, sometimes I think that happens also when we meet someone new, and someone new brings a fresh set of eyes to the equation. So some of you could be meeting a new romantic partner, a new friend, who's going to really help you flip your perspective of the whole thing. Okay? And that may actually point you to a way out and bring you some comfort. Bring you some comfort. Spirit could be talking to you through this new person, this new connection. You also could be getting messages from the divine through your dreams, so keeping a dream journal could also be a good option for you as well. Or if you have to get up and go to work and you don't have time to do a dream journal, you could either look on YouTube for readings on like what your dreams mean, or you could pull your own cards if you're able to do that and just ask Spirit, you know, like, what did that dream mean last night? What were you trying to tell me? We have longevity and we have cleansing here. Remember in the very beginning, I said you thought certain things were your forever place or your forever person, your forever job, and then it ended up not being what you thought it was, and feeling like you were lied to, or you were, you know, sold a false promise of something, right? Feeling like you were betrayed, like you were let down. The Five of Cups and the Seven of Swords, right? This is now in April. Cleansing. We're getting rid of those things that turned out to be false promises, whether it's, you know, people, places, things, doesn't matter. We're getting rid of it. We're cleansing. And then lemons to lemonade. We're going to be finding a way to move towards what will last, what will have longevity in our life. This looks to me like it's a clock, but it's also, okay, I like this because this is looking like a compass and a clock at the same time. It's just, I don't know, it's the way it's presenting itself to me because it's so ornate. It's making me think of jumping timelines, of not feeling like it's too late anymore. I'm thinking of the White Rabbit and Alice in Wonderland. You don't feel like it's too late anymore. You don't feel like you're stuck. You feel like you can change directions. Almost like you feel like you can go back in time, but that's not what's really happening here. It's just jumping a timeline. Like maybe you thought it was going to take you longer than it actually does to get out of this relationship or this situation or whatever your circumstances are that have run its course. You're able to get out of it so much faster than what you thought. You're freeing yourself. And there's deep transformation here. And I think you're seeing both sides of things. I think in the past, like you've dealt with people who were like talking out of both sides of their mouth, like really they were like putting up a false facade, trying to sell you, again, that like false promise of things. And you're seeing that for what it is. And remember how I said some of you don't believe in miracles? That's the time shift. That's the reality shift happening. But you don't think that's possible. You don't think you can, you think this change is going to take so much longer than it actually is. I'm hearing with the snap of your fingers. You do. You have more power in this than you think. And you feel alone in this, but you're not. Your guides are walking with you. I feel like that's part of it, is that you need to ask for help. You need to ask for their help. And some of you may have been praying for this to be over with, but there were some residual feelings, I think. I don't want to say resistance exactly, but because it's not that you were clinging to whatever this is because you really want it done with, but more so this resistance, like, I want this to be over with, but I don't actually think it's possible, and that's where the resistance comes from. Not you wanting to stay where you're at, but but almost like just this hopelessness. And remember, I said, like, the key to all of this is faith. That Two of Cups, like, if you want Spirit to help, you have to give your trust. You have to give something to this deal. Otherwise, I'm hearing the magic can't happen. It's like, and it's not Spirit trying to punish you, like, oh, you don't believe, so we're not going to help you. It's not like that. It's just that this is how it works. I'm hearing, like, this is how it works. Like, and you know, I don't know a lot about like witchcraft and all that, but I know that if you're doing spell work or something like that, there has to be an offering. It's just the way it works. It's just the way that it's done. So what are you offering here? And Spirit is just asking for trust, for faith. That's the simplest thing, the easiest thing you can give, and yet also it can feel like the hardest, right? And so, but that's what's being asked. You have to offer something to this. It's like otherwise the wires get cut. There's a disconnection there. And now, like, this card has so much more context, doesn't it? This card has so much more context because if she, look, even her hand is outstretched. If she wasn't offering something, if she was closed off, her hand would be blocking her heart, right? But it's not, it's open. She's giving her heart up. She's giving away her trust, her faith, so that the light can come in and can create this change, this divine support. This is the magic. But if you're closed off, if you don't have faith, you don't have trust, you guard your heart from getting broken, even by, you know, the universe, the light can't come in. So you got to crack yourself open, crack your heart open to let that light in. You have to have trust, even in the darkest of times, because she's surrounded by darkness. To let that light in. We have nostalgia, focus on the here and now, and we have mourning, the world awaits you. It's funny you got the sleep card, and now we have this card here about waking up. Okay. UPS is delivering a package, so that's a little... I face like a window, so it's kind of awkward. Okay, so anyway. All right, nostalgia, focus on the here and the now. And you see like there's a mermaid in space here. Yeah, it's like in your present circumstances, you are so separated. You are so separated. Like, I feel like it's painful for you even to be fully present. It's just like you're on autopilot. Because you're very fed up. And so I think for some of you, you've been escaping a bit into like this dreamland. And I feel like Spirit is telling you, snap out of it, wake up. Like, we don't want you to continue to use sort of any form of escapism here. Because otherwise, you're going to stay where you're at. And we need you to feel that push to get out. Because there's a whole world out there that is so much better than what you're experiencing now. And you know, with the water being outside here and all of these fish, I am thinking about like, there's more fish in the sea. Like, there's better people out there for you. There's better opportunities out there for you that will resonate with your heart space because it's water energy. But you gotta wake up. Yeah, you gotta get out of that autopilot kind of feeling. So we have time. Time spent worrying is time spent. Yeah, it's time wasted. You can't get it back. Time is the most precious thing in the world, right? Like, it's the, you can't undo this, right? It's not a renewable resource. We all have a finite time on this planet. And none of us knows when our days are up, right? Until it, you know, it has happened. Not to get too dark, but it's true, right? It's true. And so I feel like Spirit, that's why you're being pushed. Because Spirit's like, enough time is being wasted here. Enough is being wasted. But also, it's like all of this anxiety that you're feeling, all of this worry, give it over to us. You know, what's the solution to worry? Faith. Faith. Like, you can obsess over the future, or you can have faith that it's all going to be okay. And again, easier said than done, easier said than done. I will acknowledge that myself. We all have anxiety and worry and fears, right? But I think for you in April, it's especially important to not get bogged down in that and to feel that sense of faith. That sense of faith is everything for you in April. Because if you don't have it, you're either going to use some form of escapism to get through your day, or you're going to be anxious and worried and restless and struggling. And neither one of those is ideal. We have abundance here. Being a thoughtful steward for the money you already have is the secret to creating more abundance. When you trust yourself to handle more, that's when more shows up. I like this last sentence for you. When you trust yourself to handle more, that's when more shows up. You know, I know this has dollar signs on it, but abundance talks about more than just money, right? So I think for you all, there may be some residual fears there that even if you did meet the love of your life, you might somehow mess it up. Even if you got your dream job, you might somehow mess it up. You know, like, and there may be an element of self-sabotage there where, and not intentional, but that happens when we feel the imposter syndrome. And so I think that might be another thing just to be mindful of. Not saying that that's what you're dealing with, but just be mindful if that comes up in April, that that's your fear and your worry and your shadow talking and not who you truly are. And so, you know, just say thank you to your shadow self for trying to protect you, but you got this, you know, and reconnect again with spirit. That's going to be the main thing for you in April. Any way you can feel more connected to the divine, I'm hearing that is going to be your saving grace in April. Now we have self. So if there was ever like a need to get out of imposter syndrome, I feel like this is a great like way to depict that, you know, like love yourself to get out of these self-limiting beliefs that are keeping you caged and keeping you stuck. Okay, this says, if beating yourself up worked you be thin, rich, and happy, try loving yourself instead. And by the way, I don't proclaim to think these are like thin and rich is necessarily ideal. That's just what this card says. But basically, negative self-talk has never made anyone any happier or any better off. So that might be another thing to be mindful of is, you know, any pessimistic thinking that you're having or any negative thoughts about yourself or about your capabilities or, again, about the magic that can happen. You know, like, it's tough being asked to believe in miracles, right? It's tough being asked to stay strong in your faith. But for the month of April, that is what is most important for you because you got to get out. You got to get out. And there is so much beauty waiting for you on the other side. And it's almost like, they're telling me now, it's almost like you're at a party that has gone on for too long. And it's like the party started off okay, but you never really felt like you fit in and you've been wanting to go home this whole time and the night is wearing thin, but you're scared of leaving, you're scared of upsetting people, you're scared of making that trip home alone, and you keep staying at the party, but there is something so wonderful waiting for you. And this idea of you being able to come back home and that feeling of belonging, that feeling of I love it here, I feel at home here, you're never going to get that at that party. You never felt right there. And it's taking a dark turn. People are fighting. People are gossiping. There are untruths being perpetuated. Everything about it just feels chaotic and dark and low. And it's time for you to go back home. And Spirit is trying to push you. And so you know, I think to take that first step is going to be to walk in your faith. Okay. And this is, again, just a little piece of advice from my own life. This is not from your cards. But I have been in situations in the past where I felt like I had no choice, where I felt stuck, where I felt like, no, I have to do this. And looking back on it now, I realized that that came from a limited perspective, and that came from this idea of what I should be doing. And those shoulds came from my family, came from society, came even from my friends, but it didn't come from my own heart. And I would just ask you to take another look at that. And again, this is just my personal advice to you. Take another look at your circumstances and see what is coming from a place of should. What should you be doing versus what is actually ringing true in your heart. You know, because sometimes we have more power than we realize. And some things that we think are impossible or that we can't do are actually the very things that would save us. Okay? All right, let's see which houses are going to be significant for you in April. So we've got the first house, so your relationship with yourself. Your relationship with yourself. And we've talked about this already, but your relationship with yourself is also mirroring or absolutely connected to your relationship with the divine. The third house, so I think I'm hearing what you speak is what exists. What you speak is what exists. I think it's that narrative that you're telling yourself that is limiting you. I'm hearing change that narrative. Second house, your material abundance, your work life, your security, what makes you feel stable, your resources, all of that is going to be relevant in the month of April. Let's find which zodiac signs are going to be relevant. Okay, we have Sagittarius. Okay, so you could be having a Sagittarius person come into your life. Honestly, I feel like you need some Sagittarius energy. Like you need some sense of optimism. You need some bravery. It's mutable fire, so it's very action-oriented. It's very warm, inviting energy. If anyone could give you a pep talk, it would be a Sagittarius person. And Sagittarius people are very philosophical and very wise. I feel like they don't get enough credit for that. And this could also talk about you stepping into that energy. Taurus people, second house, here we go. This could be talking about you having more ambition, realizing that you deserve more. Taurus people really appreciate luxury, so this could be you realizing that you deserve more. This could be a Taurus person coming in your life and telling you that as well. Okay, and now we have Scorpio energy, so deep personal transformation. A Scorpio person could also help you heal something. And you know, Scorpio energy also relates to the occult, relates to spirituality. So, you know, you could find that connection to the divine is restored by exploring tarot, using crystals, any occult related practice, meditation as well, I'm hearing. Okay, group 3, this was your reading. I know it was an intense one. Best of luck to you in April, but you will get through this. You will see the other side of it, I promise. And yeah, I'm wishing you the very best.